Zayed Rahman and Karim Al-Noor were two of Dubai's wealthiest men, but it was Aarohi Mehta, a young Indian spa worker, who held their secrets, and her double life would ignite a scandal that ended in mystery and tragedy. Aarohi Mehta arrived in Dubai before sunrise, carrying a single suitcase and years of quiet hope. The city greeted her with glowing highways, glass towers, and an air of promise that felt almost unreal. She had left behind a small town in India where opportunity was limited and expectations were heavy. Her family believed she was starting a respectable career abroad, and she carried that belief like a responsibility she could not afford to fail. The spa that hired her was located inside a luxury hotel, a place she had only seen in magazines before. On her first day, the scent of oils, polished marble floors, and soft lighting made her feel both excited and out of place. She quickly learned that clients here were powerful people who expected perfection without questions. Every mistake felt dangerous, every smile felt necessary. Her accommodation was a shared room on the outskirts of the city, far from the glamour tourists imagined. Long bus rides and strict schedules became part of her routine. Still, Aarohi stayed focused, sending most of her salary back home while saving what little she could. At night, she stood by her window watching the distant skyline, wondering how some lives sparkled while others struggled beneath the same sky. Dubai tested her patience early. The cost of living was high, rules were strict, and loneliness followed her everywhere. Yet beneath the exhaustion, ambition grew stronger. Aarohi believed the city rewarded those who endured. She promised herself that this job was only the beginning, unaware that the path she was stepping onto would pull her into a world of wealth, secrecy, and choices that could never be undone. Zayed Rahman entered Aarohi's life without warning, introduced through a private spa booking marked with unusual instructions. The request came with extra security, strict privacy rules, and a generous tip promised in advance. Aarohi was chosen because of her calm nature and professional record. From the moment the session ended, she sensed that this client was different from the others who passed through the spa. Soon, the bookings became regular and always exclusive. Zayed was known among staff only by reputation, a wealthy real estate figure whose name was never spoken loudly. After each visit, envelopes appeared with cash far beyond her salary, along with subtle gifts left at reception in her name. Aarohi told herself it was appreciation for her service, nothing more. Yet her lifestyle began to shift almost immediately. She moved to a better apartment closer to the city, no longer sharing space with strangers. Her clothes changed, her confidence grew, and financial stress slowly faded. The spa management noticed but asked no questions, as long as influential clients remained satisfied. Aarohi learned that silence was the unspoken rule. Over time, Zayed's interest extended beyond the spa. Invitations arrived for private wellness sessions at secured locations. Aarohi hesitated but accepted, convincing herself that opportunity rarely came twice. Each meeting pulled her deeper into a world of discretion and comfort. She enjoyed the stability and the sense of being chosen. Still, fear lingered beneath the luxury. Aarohi knew relationships built on secrecy could collapse without warning. She kept her work performance flawless and her personal life hidden. In a city ruled by power and image, she believed trust was fragile, and one wrong step could cost everything she had gained. Karim Al-Noor entered Aarohi's life at a moment when comfort had begun to feel normal. Unlike Zayed, Karim did not come through the spa quietly. He appeared at a private event arranged by one of the hotel's elite wellness partners, where selected staff were asked to assist. Karim stood out immediately, not because of silence, but because of attention. He was younger, visible in social circles, and known for his fast-growing tech fortune. His interest was direct and impossible to ignore. Within days, Aarohi received requests that bypassed normal procedures, offering payment that exceeded even what she had grown used to. Karim's approach felt exciting and dangerous at the same time. He spoke through assistants and digital messages, leaving little room for misunderstanding. Aarohi hesitated, fully aware that she was already involved in something fragile. What Karim offered was different. Instead of quiet stability, he brought access to parties, luxury hotels, and sudden trips outside the city. Aarohi experienced a side of Dubai she had only seen online. Expensive gifts arrived without explanation, and large transfers appeared in her account. The pace was fast, thrilling, and hard to control. To protect herself, Aarohi created strict boundaries. Separate phones, altered schedules, and carefully planned absences became routine. She told herself she was managing risk, not inviting it. Yet the pressure of maintaining two secret lives weighed heavily on her mind. Despite the fear, she continued. Kareem's world fed her ambition and sense of power. She believed she could stay invisible if she remained careful. What she failed to see was that visibility, once earned, is never truly lost, and every step she took was leaving a trace behind her. Aarohi's life slowly divided into two carefully controlled realities. By day, she remained the disciplined spa worker, arriving early, following rules, and avoiding attention. Her professionalism protected her position and kept management satisfied. No one at work questioned her dedication, even as her appearance became more polished and her confidence noticeably stronger. She made sure her performance left no room for suspicion. Outside the spa, her time was measured and calculated. She memorized schedules, created excuses, and tracked movements with precision. One phone was used for work and family, the other for a world that existed in shadows. Every notification caused a moment of tension. Every unexpected call raised fear. Aarohi slept lightly, always alert to the risk of overlap. Financially, her life transformed completely. She no longer counted expenses or worried about sending money home. Yet the comfort came with emotional distance. She stopped sharing details with friends and avoided forming close bonds. Trust felt dangerous. Privacy became her greatest defense and her greatest burden. The city around her felt smaller despite its size. Familiar places turned into strategic locations, chosen for safety rather than enjoyment. She avoided cameras, certain routes, and known social spaces. Even moments of luxury felt temporary, as if they could be taken away without warning. Internally, conflict grew. Aarohi justified her choices by reminding herself of survival and ambition. She believed she was in control, managing circumstances instead of being controlled by them. Still, a quiet fear followed her everywhere. She understood that Dubai rewarded discretion but punished exposure. With each passing day, the balance became harder to maintain, and the space between her two lives narrowed, bringing unseen consequences closer with every decision she made. Subtle changes in behavior marked the beginning of suspicion, even before proof existed. Aarohi sensed it in delayed responses, altered routines, and the sudden coldness that replaced familiarity. What she did not know was that both men had begun watching her movements independently, driven by instinct rather than certainty. In their world, control mattered more than explanation. Zayed's approach was quiet and methodical. He relied on trusted security professionals who specialized in discretion. Vehicle movements were logged, building entries noted, and spending patterns reviewed. No confrontation was necessary. Information flowed silently, forming patterns that raised concern. Aarohi felt the shift when privileges became conditional and access felt measured. Kareem's reaction was different. His methods were faster and less patient. Digital footprints became his focus. Location data, social media shadows, and indirect contacts were analyzed through people skilled in online surveillance. He noticed gaps in availability and inconsistencies in explanations. What once felt exciting turned sharp and invasive. Aarohi remained unaware of the full extent of the attention surrounding her. She only felt pressure without a clear source. Her instincts urged caution, but the lifestyle she had built demanded constant engagement. Canceling plans became risky. Ignoring messages felt dangerous. The freedom she once enjoyed tightened into obligation. The city itself seemed to watch her. Cameras, guards, and controlled entrances reminded her that privacy was limited. She changed routes, avoided patterns, and shortened stays in familiar places. Yet surveillance adapts faster than avoidance. As separate investigations moved forward, both men reached similar conclusions without speaking to each other. The truth was no longer hidden, only unconfirmed. Aarohi stood at the center of an invisible web, believing she still had time. In reality, the balance had already shifted, and exposure was no longer a question of if, but when. The collapse came suddenly, without the chance for explanation or escape. What had been guarded through silence and careful timing was undone by a single public moment. Images surfaced online showing Aarohi aboard a luxury yacht, surrounded by people from Kareem's inner circle. The photos were grainy but clear enough to reveal her identity. Within hours, they moved through private networks known for sharing elite gossip. The images reached Zayed through channels he trusted. There was no confusion, only confirmation. The patterns his security team had observed now made sense. Financial records, travel overlaps, and missed appointments aligned with the evidence in front of him. What had once been suspicion hardened into certainty. At the same time, Kareem realized exposure had escaped his control. The event was never meant to be visible beyond a closed group. Someone had shared the images deliberately, turning private indulgence into public scandal. Among influential circles, reputation mattered more than emotion, and the situation demanded immediate damage control. Aarohi learned of the exposure through sudden silence. Messages went unanswered. Accounts were frozen without warning. Access cards failed at familiar locations. Her carefully maintained structure collapsed within a single day. The protection she believed existed vanished instantly. Whispers replaced privacy. Staff at the spa sensed trouble and distanced themselves. Management cited policy reviews and asked her to take leave until further notice. Her name began circulating in spaces where discretion had once protected her. Dubai's elite moved quickly to separate themselves from risk. Aarohi was no longer a valued secret, but a liability. The city that once rewarded her silence now punished her visibility. With every door closing, she realized that control had never been hers. Exposure had shifted power away from her completely, and the consequences were only beginning to unfold. The days following the exposure were marked by isolation and fear. Aarohi's phone stopped ringing except for unfamiliar numbers that never left messages. Financial support disappeared overnight, leaving her accounts restricted and access to cash limited. The lifestyle she had grown used to dissolved rapidly, replaced by uncertainty and panic. At the spa, her situation worsened. Management formally suspended her, citing reputational risk and internal investigation. Her work visa, once stable, became a point of concern. Notices arrived requesting documentation and explanations she struggled to provide. Without income or institutional protection, her position in the country weakened by the hour. Aarohi attempted to make quiet plans to leave Dubai. She contacted travel agents, searched for flights, and tried to recover personal documents. That was when she discovered her passport was missing. The loss felt deliberate. Panic turned into desperation as each attempt to regain control failed. Her apartment no longer felt safe. Unfamiliar vehicles appeared nearby, and building security seemed distant and unhelpful. She avoided leaving unless necessary, curtains drawn, lights kept low. Sleep became brief and restless. Every sound carried threat. Social connections vanished. Friends stopped responding, unwilling to be associated with scandal. Even casual acquaintances disappeared. Aarohi understood that reputation was contagious, and no one wanted proximity to risk. Pressure closed in from all sides without direct confrontation. Silence itself became a form of intimidation. She felt watched, but could not identify by whom. Legal options felt unreachable, and reporting concerns seemed pointless against powerful interests. By the end of the week, Aarohi realized escape would not be simple. The city that once felt full of opportunity now felt sealed shut. She stood alone, trapped between visibility and disappearance, knowing that time was running out and choices were rapidly narrowing. The night Aarohi disappeared felt ordinary on the surface, which made it more unsettling in hindsight. She left her apartment after sunset carrying only a small handbag, dressed plainly to avoid attention. Building cameras recorded her exiting alone, moving with purpose but without visible panic. No luggage, no farewell messages, no signs of preparation suggested a permanent departure. Shortly before leaving, she received multiple messages from an unknown number. The content was never recovered, but phone records confirmed brief activity followed by sudden silence. Neighbors later reported hearing a vehicle stop briefly near the entrance, though no license plate was clearly visible. Security footage showed Aarohi entering a dark luxury car and closing the door without resistance. After that moment, there were no confirmed sightings. Her phone stopped transmitting data within minutes, as if deliberately shut down. The next day, her absence went unnoticed until repeated calls failed. By evening, Concern spread among the few contacts she had left. 2 days later, her phone was found near a construction site on the edge of the city. It was powered off, undamaged, and wiped of recent data. The location raised questions but offered no answers. No personal belongings were nearby. Authorities were notified, and a missing person report was filed. Initial efforts focused on voluntary departure, but immigration records showed no exit from the country. Surveillance footage from nearby roads was either unavailable or incomplete. Speculation grew quickly. Some believed Aarohi had been taken to force her silence. Others suggested she had accepted help to disappear and start a new life. Without evidence, both theories remained possible. What remained certain was that Aarohi Mehta vanished without trace, leaving behind a trail that ended abruptly. In a city built on control and secrecy, disappearance did not always require violence. Sometimes, it only required the right moment and the right people watching. The investigation began quietly, with limited urgency and careful language. Authorities treated Aarohi's disappearance as a sensitive case, aware of the powerful names circulating unofficially around it. Initial questioning focused on her last known movements, financial activity, and employment history. On paper, nothing appeared dramatic enough to justify immediate alarm. Both millionaires were questioned through legal representatives. Statements were provided denying involvement, and timelines were carefully constructed to establish distance from the disappearance. Their cooperation appeared complete, yet controlled. Every interaction passed through layers of lawyers and advisors, slowing progress without openly obstructing it. Evidence proved difficult to secure. Surveillance footage near her residence contained unexplained gaps. Nearby businesses reported camera malfunctions on the same night. Call records from the unknown number that contacted her were routed through disposable networks, leading investigators nowhere. Each lead dissolved before forming a clear direction. Media attention rose briefly, fueled by leaked rumors and online speculation. Articles hinted at scandal but avoided direct accusations. Without confirmed facts, public interest faded quickly. The case lacked visible drama, and no body, witness, or confession pushed it forward. Investigators explored the possibility of voluntary disappearance. Financial records showed no large withdrawals, but some accounts were inaccessible. Immigration systems showed no exit under her name, though private routes could not be ruled out. The absence of definitive proof kept multiple theories alive. Over time, resources were quietly reduced. The case was transferred between departments, each inheriting incomplete files. Momentum slowed, replaced by routine status updates. Aarohi's disappearance became another unresolved entry in official records. Those with influence returned to normal life, untouched by consequence. What remained was a file filled with unanswered questions, suggesting that truth in such cases often fades not because it is hidden well, but because it is inconvenient to pursue further. Months passed, and Aarohi Mehta's name slowly disappeared from public discussion, though the mystery surrounding her fate never truly faded. Officially, her case remained open, but inactivity replaced urgency. Periodic reviews produced no new leads, and unanswered questions became routine. In a city driven by progress and image, unresolved stories were quietly set aside. Among those who had once benefited from secrecy, life continued uninterrupted. Business deals closed, social events resumed, and reputations remained intact. No legal consequences followed, and no responsibility was publicly assigned. The system moved forward as if nothing had happened, reinforcing the belief that power often protects itself without visible effort. Occasionally, rumors surfaced. Some claimed Aarohi had been relocated and given a new identity to ensure silence. Others believed she had met a darker end, erased to prevent further exposure. A few insisted she had escaped on her own terms, choosing disappearance over destruction. None of these stories could be confirmed, and each faded as quickly as it appeared. Back in India, her family waited for answers that never came. Communication stopped abruptly, leaving them suspended between hope and grief. Without proof of death or survival, closure remained impossible. Their questions were met with silence from institutions and distance from those once connected to her life. Aarohi's story became a warning whispered among workers navigating similar spaces. It illustrated how ambition, secrecy, and unequal power could combine into something dangerous. What began as opportunity turned into vulnerability, and control shifted quietly away from the person most exposed. In the end, there was no dramatic conclusion, no justice, and no certainty. Only absence remained. Aarohi Mehta became another name lost within the city's polished surface, reminding those who listened closely that in worlds ruled by influence, disappearance can be the final resolution, and truth may never return.